In the shadow of inequality. Amara Bennett walked through the immaculate garden of the Sinclair mansion, her weary gaze betraying the hardships she had faced in her life. As she held her box of cleaning supplies, the contrasts between her modest status and the opulence around her became increasingly evident. The mansion stood majestically, a stark symbol of the inequality that permeated society. Amara entered through the imposing front door, her breathing steady. She knew her place was behind the scenes, invisible to the eyes of the privileged. Vivian Sinclair, a woman with impeccable blonde hair and a condescending smile, stood in the grand hall, examining her own image reflected in the golden mirror. It was as if she was ensuring her superiority was evident even to her own reflection.
Amara,
said Vivian, casting a quick glance towards her housekeeper.
I hope you are ready to fulfill your duties without any mishaps today. I won't tolerate mistakes or delays.
Amara kept her head held high, despite the discomfort caused by Vivian's tone of superiority.
Certainly, Mrs. Sinclair. I'm here to do my job to the best of my abilities.
She replied with a determination disguised as politeness. However, as Amara moved through the mansion's corridors, the disparities became even more apparent. She observed the richly embroidered tapestries on the walls, the dazzling chandeliers illuminating empty halls, and the sophisticated furniture that seemed unattainable in her own modest home. Passing through the kitchen, Amara couldn't help but notice the abundance of fresh and exotic foods, contrasting with the simple and scarce meals her family struggled to secure. This inequality of opportunities and resources weighed on Amara like a constant burden, a painful reminder of the barriers that separated her from the world of privileges to which Vivian belonged. The days unfolded with Amara meticulously performing her tasks while Vivian cast disapproving glances and subtly criticized her work. The conflicts between them escalated to a new level, fueled by the underlying tension permeating their relationship. Amara felt undervalued, reduced to a mere pawn in Vivian's power game. With an expression of superiority, Vivian approached, casting a critical eye over Amara's work.
Amara, I can't believe you still haven't managed to clean these decorations properly. I expected more professionalism from you.
Amara took a deep breath, trying to maintain composure in the face of Vivian's constant provocations.
Mrs. Sinclair, I have been striving to do my job to the best of my abilities. If there is any dissatisfaction, I would like to know exactly where I am going wrong so that I can correct it.
Vivian smirked disdainfully, challenging Amara with her words.
It's not a matter of where you are going wrong, Amara. It's a matter of competence. I have doubts about whether you truly possess the necessary skills to be in this position.
Frustration built up inside Amara, but she decided to respond with calmness, not allowing Vivian's harsh words to break her spirit.
With all due respect, Mrs. Sinclair, I have been here for months performing my duties exemplary. If there is any specific concern you would like to address, I am willing to listen and find solutions to better serve you.
Vivian narrowed her eyes, feeling challenged by Amara's composed stance.
It's not just a matter of performance. It's a matter of hierarchy and respecting your superiors. Perhaps you need to be reminded of your place in this house.
Amara, with a hint of determination in her voice, firmly replied.
Mrs. Sinclair, I understand the dynamics of an employer-employee relationship perfectly well. However, that doesn't justify disrespectful treatment. I believe that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of the position they hold.
Vivian was taken aback by Amara's assertive tone but quickly regained her haughty posture.
You are crossing the line, Amara. Remember, I am the employer here. If you are not satisfied with the working conditions, I can easily find someone more suitable to take your place.
Amara held her gaze, but remained silent because she knew she needed that job. The tense dialogue revealed the growing tension between Amara and Vivian, highlighting Amara's struggle for her own worth and dignity in the face of her employer's actions. The exchange of words reflected Amara's quest for respect and justice, while Vivian continued to exert her power oppressively. One day, during a conversation with her fellow housekeeper friends, Amara heard similar accounts of unfair treatment and humiliation from Vivian and other wealthy employers. It ignited a flame of indignation within her. Amara's determination grew, and she began preparing for a larger battle. She knew that much more was at stake than just her job at the Sinclair mansion. It was a fight for dignity and equality, a quest for justice in the shadows of social inequality. The conflicts between Amara and Vivian began to escalate, fueled by growing resentment and the social disparities that kept them apart. Every interaction between them became a minefield, ready to explode at any moment. One day, while Amara was busy performing her tasks, Vivian entered the room with a disdainful expression. Her cold eyes meticulously scanned Amara's work, searching for flaws. She pointed to a neglected corner where dust had accumulated and let out a disapproving sigh.
Amara, you need to pay more attention to details. I cannot tolerate negligence in my home.
Vivian said with a tone of superiority. Amara swallowed hard, feeling the weight of Vivian's words. Humiliation was like a sharp knife, cutting through her hopes of being treated with respect and dignity. However, she decided that she wouldn't let Vivian's words bring her down. She lifted her chin and responded firmly.
With all due respect, Mrs. Sinclair, I strive to do an impeccable job. But sometimes, it's challenging to meet your exceptionally high expectations. I am just one person, dealing with a heavy workload, especially with such a large house like this. A single cleaning staff member is simply insufficient.
Amara's words echoed through the room, reflecting the discontent many mansion employees felt but never had the courage to express. Vivian frowned, irritated by Amara's unexpected response.
How dare you question my expectations? I pay you to do a proper job, and that's what I expect from you. There is no room for excuses or failures.
Vivian retorted with a cutting tone. The conflict between them reached its peak, and the atmosphere in the mansion grew increasingly tense. Vivian's words, filled with contempt and superiority, wounded Amara's soul, while she refused to lower her head and accept the injustice. As the days went by, the conflicts multiplied. Vivian found faults where there were none, criticized Amara's work publicly, and made degrading comments about her social position. The poison of inequality was constantly injected into the veins of the Sinclair mansion. However, Amara didn't allow despair to consume her. She found strength in her determination to change the game. While suffering under Vivian's shadow, her daily motivation to face the difficulties endured in her work was solely driven by the need to provide for her family, whom she had always dedicated herself to as a single mother. The day dawned with a heavy atmosphere in Sinclair Mansion. Amara Bennett rose with a mix of apprehension and determination. She knew that something was about to happen, a turning point that would irreversibly change the course of events. As Amara got ready, every movement was laden with tension. She could feel Vivian Sinclair's disdainful glances weighing on her back. The hostility in the air was palpable, as if the mansion was on the verge of exploding with suppressed emotions. Upon entering the living room, Amara found Vivian wearing a cold and calculating expression. Her blue eyes glimmered with cruel determination as she stared at Amara with contempt.
Amara Bennett!
Declared Vivian, her voice cutting like a sharp blade.
I have suspicions about your intentions here in this house. I've noticed food disappearing from the pantry, and I'm certain that you are the culprit.
Amara's heart skipped a beat in her chest. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was as if the ground was opening up beneath her feet. The unjust and unfounded accusation of theft hit her hard.
That's a mistake, Mrs. Sinclair.
Amara responded, her voice choked with emotion.
I would never steal from you. I struggle every day to ensure the well-being of my family and my integrity.
Vivian laughed with a mix of sarcasm and triumph.
Poor Amara, trying to play the victim. But the evidence is against you. The disappearance of the food cannot be denied. I will no longer tolerate your presence in this house. You are fired.
The words echoed through the hall, amplifying the sense of injustice hanging in the air. Amara felt disoriented, betrayed, and powerless against the accusations. Tears of frustration and sadness blurred her vision, but she kept her head held high.
I hope that one day the truth will be revealed, Mrs. Sinclair.
Amara murmured with newfound determination.
I won't give up until my innocence is proven.
With these final words, Amara left Sinclair Mansion with a heavy heart. She knew that the game was far from over, and the battle for justice was yet to come. As she walked through the streets, tears mingled with determination in her eyes. Amara was determined to prove her innocence, expose the injustices, and find the redemption she so desperately sought. Amara Bennett embarked on her journey to prove her innocence with tireless determination. She knew she had a long road ahead, facing obstacles and challenges, but her courage never wavered. Amara's first stop was to search for evidence that could expose Vivian Sinclair's unjust accusation. She revisited the Sinclair mansion under the cover of night when silence enveloped every room. Armed with a flashlight and a heart full of courage, she scoured every nook and cranny in search of clues that could prove her innocence. As Amara walked through the dark corridors, a shadow approached stealthily. It was James, the mansion's gardener and an unlikely ally. He had witnessed the tensions between Amara and Vivian and was willing to help.
Amara, I know you're innocent.
James whispered.
I saw how Vivian planted the evidence to incriminate you. She wanted to get rid of you from the very beginning.
Amara's heart raced at this shocking revelation. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. But at the same time, that truth made sense. Vivian had acted with calculated cruelty, plotting a trap to blame her and keep her power intact. Together, Amara and James continued their search for evidence. They combed through the mansion's financial records, found documents with employees' signatures who had been threatened to support Vivian's version of the missing food, and uncovered testimonies from other staff members confirming Vivian's manipulation. Armed with this evidence, Amara decided to confront Vivian. She knew it was a risk, but she could no longer live in the shadow of false accusations. The next afternoon, Amara entered the Sinclair mansion with her head held high and the evidence in her hands. She found Vivian in her office, a look of surprise on her face.
Vivian, I've uncovered the truth. I know you planted the evidence to incriminate me.
Amara declared, her voice firm and confident. Vivian was momentarily speechless but quickly regained her composure.
You have no evidence to support your accusations, Amara. I am an influential woman, and no one will believe you.
At that moment, Amara presented the evidence she had gathered, revealing the dark secrets behind Vivian's actions. The puzzle pieces fit perfectly, exposing the truth and unmasking the falsehood. With a defeated look, Vivian realized her game had been uncovered. She tried to argue, but her words sounded empty and powerless. The facade of wealth and power began to crumble as justice closed in. Amara triumphed. Her journey to prove her innocence had reached its climax. She savored the sweetness of victory but also felt compassion for Vivian, a woman entangled in her own web of lies. With the truth revealed, Amara left the Sinclair mansion behind, her head held high and her heart relieved. She had found redemption, justice, and a valuable lesson about the importance of staying true to oneself in the face of adversity. Amara's discoveries about Vivian Sinclair were like fragments of a dark puzzle coming together before her eyes. Each piece unveiled the hidden truth behind the facade of power and wealth. Amara delved deep into the investigations, meticulously reviewing the documents she had found in the Sinclair mansion. Every manipulated financial record, every testimony of coerced employees, all pointed to a complex web of corruption woven by Vivian. One of the most shocking revelations was Vivian's connection to a smuggling network. Amara found evidence of illegal transactions involving art, jewelry, and antiques. Vivian used her position of influence to conceal her criminal activities, leveraging her wealth to cover her tracks. Furthermore, Amara uncovered an even darker secret: Vivian had a network exploiting immigrant workers. She kept people in deplorable conditions, paying them meager wages and subjecting them to inhumane working conditions. These revelations filled Amara with outrage. She came face to face with the cruel truth that Vivian had not only tried to destroy her life but had also harmed countless others in her relentless pursuit of power and profit. Determined to expose Vivian and dismantle her criminal network, Amara decided to seek help. She approached an investigative journalist named Olivia Reynolds, known for her courage in confronting corruption. Amara shared all the evidence she had gathered and described her own experiences as an employee of the Sinclair mansion. Olivia was impressed by the extent of Vivian's scheme and agreed to dig deeper into the matter. Together, Amara and Olivia joined forces to reveal the truth to the world. They devised a meticulous plan, utilizing the collected information to expose Vivian and her illegal activities. Amara and Olivia had gathered an impressive array of evidence against Vivian Sinclair. The time had come to expose the truth in front of the justice system and put an end to the corrupt practices that had plagued Sinclair Manor. The courtroom was filled with anticipation as Amara prepared to testify. She remained steadfast, ready to reveal all the discoveries that had been gathered throughout her tireless journey. In court, Amara presented evidence proving Vivian's financial manipulation, smuggling, and exploitation of immigrant workers. She took the opportunity to expose the signed documentation by employees who had been coerced and threatened to contribute to the false theft accusations that unjustly incriminated Amara. Meticulously organized documents, testimonies, and records were presented, painting an undeniable picture of the crimes committed by the powerful woman. As Amara spoke, Vivian's expression shifted between anger and despair. She knew the evidence was overwhelming, and her attempts to discredit Amara were futile in the face of the solidity of the evidence. Then came the most revealing moment of the trial. Faced with all the presented evidence, the accused admitted her wrongdoings. Vivian confessed to her nefarious actions, acknowledging the extent of her involvement in the illegal and cruel activities that had been exposed. Her words echoed through the courtroom, filled with a mixture of guilt, shame, and resignation. The mask of power and arrogance finally fell, revealing the true face of Vivian Sinclair, a woman who had succumbed to greed and an insatiable desire for power. Vivian's confession shook the trial and left Amara and Olivia with a bittersweet sense of victory. On one hand, justice was being served, and the truth prevailed. On the other, they witnessed the sad downfall of a woman who had lost herself in her own labyrinth of deceit. Finally, the verdict of the trial arrived. Vivian Sinclair was found guilty of the crime she was accused of, and the sentence was delivered, reflecting the gravity of her actions. She was sentenced to imprisonment, thus ending her era of oppression and corruption, along with compensation for all those involved in her web of wrongdoing, including Amara, who had suffered under her clutches. Amara, now free from the burden of false accusations, felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. She looked towards the future with hope, knowing that her fight for truth and justice had brought a new dawn to her life and to those who had been affected by Vivian Sinclair's tyranny. After the tumultuous events of the trial unfolded, Amara felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The battle against Vivian Sinclair had been won, but she knew there was still much to do to rebuild her life and help those who had been affected by the woman's tyranny. With the compensation she received for all the suffering she endured under Vivian Sinclair's oppression, she was able to change the course of her life, with better opportunities that began to flourish. Her efforts to seek proof of her innocence ended up helping thousands of people, and with that, she felt that her life should take on a new purpose. With a fresh perspective on life, Amara decides to dedicate herself to a greater cause. She becomes an advocate for workers' rights and victims of exploitation, using her personal experience as a foundation to fight for the most vulnerable. Amara establishes a non-profit organization to support and guide those who have been affected by abusive labor practices. She becomes an unwavering voice in the fight against corruption and exploitation, working to ensure that others do not go through what she went through. Meanwhile, Amara reconnects with her family and shares with them the achievements she has made. She inspires them to believe in the power of perseverance and the importance of upholding justice. Knowing that she can now provide a better life for herself and her loved ones, they move to a better house. She is now able to provide a better education for her children and a wider range of food, which was often scarce in the past due to the circumstances. The community in which Amara lives recognizes her tireless work and appoints her as an important figure in the fight for human rights. She becomes an inspiration to many, proving that a single person can make a difference. Amara reflects on her journey and the people who supported her along the way. She feels grateful for her friends, family, and Olivia, who stood by her side in moments of adversity. Amara finds happiness in her new mission and discovers inner peace, knowing that her actions have had a positive impact on the lives of those in need. Amara's story concludes with the certainty that, even in the face of the greatest adversities, it is possible to overcome challenges, reveal the truth, and find an enlightened fresh start. Her determination and courage leave a lasting legacy, inspiring others to confront the injustices of the world. Thank you for watching. What did you think of this story? Please leave your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to keep receiving more stories like this. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up so we understand that you want more stories in this style. If you have any suggestions for new stories, please share them in the comments. We'll see you in the next video.